You right there guys, this is Dale of Lone Wombat Airsoft and this is a video review of the Skirmish Airsoft Mansfield site. Now I need to point out this isn't quite a first impression review. I have been to the site before once about a year and a half ago, but since I was for a stag do it wasn't a proper game day. I didn't do the review then because I didn't feel it was representative of what a standard game day would be like. Having gone again quite recently, however, I'm going to try and base the opinions in this video based entirely on that day and that day only, and so with that in mind we'll carry on with the review. Now the site's located on Ollerton Road in Budby, and actually it's a stone's throw away from the Phoenix Airsoft site that we've looked at previously. Postcode for the site dropped me off right at the entrance of it. I had no trouble with my sat-nav, and to be fair, it's the only feature on a very long, straight, empty road in the middle of nowhere, so it's very hard to miss the site's entrance for this one. Once you turn into there, you'll find yourself on a long crushed stone driveway, which leads into a very wide and open car parking space. There's loads of room for people here, but the marshals on site were ushering people into a very nice, neat formation so that people could leave in the day without causing the most amount of fuss with all the parked cars there. So very neat, very organised, and once you go out of there, the safe zone is directly down from you. So walk-on fees for the site are £25 if you're a member of Skirmish Airsoft sites and £30 if you're not. There are options for hire kit as well, which range from £40 to £55 depending on what you want with it. All three of those options will come with overalls, full face protection and a G36 with a single high cap mag, but the options are to have either 1,000, 3,000 or 6,000 rounds, and the 3 and 6,000 come with 2 grenades of your choice on them as well. I'd suggest that 1,000 rounds probably isn't going to see you through the day unless you have a very sparse trigger finger, so it might be worth going for one of the more expensive ones or bringing a bit more money with you to buy ammo on the day. Speaking of buying extra things on the day, it should be noted that your lunch is not included as part of the walk-on fee. They were selling things on the day like hot dogs, burgers, pot noodle and little bits on the side, that sort of thing, so you can buy food there, but it is not included as part of that walk-on fee. Other things in the shop were for sale, so you've got your basic airsoft supplies, ammo, gas, grenades, that sort of thing, but they're also selling an AEG or two behind the counter and a couple of pistols as well, so quite a decent spread on the shop there. The safe zone in general is really high quality. Skirmish Airsoft is essentially a paintballing site that does airsoft as well and started as that. So all the facilities are extremely high quality for what you'd expect from these sort of sites. The safe zone is very large, lots of room for setting up all your kit in, and a lot of it's mostly covered as well, so you don't really have to worry about the weather. Decent bathrooms on site as well, like really high quality stuff with that. Tea and coffee was available throughout the day as well, so no complaints about the safe zone itself, really good. Site FPS limits are 350 for AEGs, 400 for semi-automatic DMRs, they must be locked to semi to count for that, and 500 FPS for bolt-action snipers. However, one thing I've noticed is even though they told people to go for the chrono, they weren't actually giving out any like tags or anything to say that people had done the chronograph, so there really wasn't a way for checking up on the players to see if they had done that test or not, so I'd recommend they actually start handing out little tags just to put on the gun, just like a little zip tie or something, just to say, yeah, they've passed the chronograph, so potentially something to consider for the future. So onto the subject of the staff on site then. The people there were really quite approachable, very chatty. The safety brief in the morning was delivered flawlessly with nothing missed, and to be honest I don't really have any complaints about how the games themselves were run either. So all around good stuff. However, there is one minor improvement I think could be made, and that's in terms of getting people into the safe zone at the start of the day. Even though the site says it opens up at 8:30, they weren't actually letting people in until about 9, and even then they were only letting them in about groups of 10. Now, I realise what they're trying to do with this because they wouldn't let people into the safe zone unless they actually signed in and paid first, and that just produced a huge queue and they were trying to divvy it up into bits, but in reality this just leaves a lot of people standing around for a long period of time with nothing to do, just twiddling their thumbs, wondering what's going on. I did notice that they have 2 sheets as you go in, one for them to check off with the people that have booked in with a deposit, and one for the players to sign themselves, which is the waiver form. So what I'm thinking might be a bit more efficient is if they check the players off on their sheet as they come into the safe zone, and then leave the players in their own time to then come up and pay for their walk-on fee. You can check to see who has and who hasn't because you've got your list, and I think that's not going to allow people to skip paying. It'll just get people into the safe zone, get set up in their own time. It's going to leave a lot less people standing around with nothing to do. So just a little improvement on efficiency of how you get people in that safe zone. Onto the games themselves, I think, as I said, no problems with the games, but it was the bits in between them that I think there's another slot for improvement. The marshals were saying there was a 5-minute downtime between the games, but I timed it and it actually comes closer to 15. This includes the first game of the day as well. They would do it after every single game, and the first one, literally not figuratively, lasted 5 minutes. That still earns a 15-minute break afterwards. And when you have a load of games throughout the day with 15 minutes in between each one, that tallies up very quickly, so much so that you could have easily squeezed in another game or two in the day, I think, if you just tighten that schedule up. Just get the players ramped up a little bit, cut down on that dead time, and you can easily fit another game into the day with that. So, as I say, I think the staff were very professional, they were very approachable, very chatty, and it was really well run. I think it could just have a little bit more efficiency bits taken off on the side of it. As for the players themselves then, really quite good people. There was a generally good atmosphere on site throughout the day. Everyone was nattering to each other, having a good time. First half of the day before lunch, hit taking was flawless. I saw no problems with that whatsoever. After lunch, there was maybe 1 or 2 instances that I kind of thought, I couldn't clearly see it on the cameras, but I was a bit sketchy about some of them. And I started to hear other players grumbling a little bit about it after lunch as well. So overall, I'd say it's about what you'd expect from any airsoft site. First half of the day, brilliant. But then again, about after lunch, it kind of slipped a little bit. But other than that, good marks all around in terms of players and staff. So what about the site terrain then? Well, Skirmish Mansfield is at its heart a paintballing site, and this really reflects itself in the gaming zone themselves. They have a lot of raw acreage to play with. The site actual area in which you play in is huge. There's plenty of different arenas that are then divided up into that as well, all with their own unique play styles and aesthetics. So you're never really bored throughout the day because you're always in a different section of the site and it doesn't blend into one. It's very clearly defined where one arena starts and stops, but through the airsoft games you will sometimes play across multiple ones of these arenas. So you can start the game in one place, end it in another, and it just keeps the whole thing constantly fresh. Like, you're never really bored about the place you're playing. It's very visually appealing and the play styles change depending on where you are as well. There's a lot of vehicle husks to play around on the site as well, which is quite cool. You have one map where all the cover is based off metal boxes with like little holes in them that you can fire through. There was a wooden village at the top bit. We didn't get to play on it on the day, but there's also like a capture the flag bit with a bridge going across a divider between the map itself. There was also one bit that was just virgin woodland, just really quite overgrown, and to fight through that's in and of itself stands out different from the rest of them, which is all very quite clear. For the most part, the site is very flat. There's a little bit of a gradient to it, but it's extremely flat, very clear, very open. So it's really easy to just sprint up and down this place and not having to worry about tripping up over anything. So it accommodates for very fast play styles. However, I would say if you have a long range and very accurate gun, then you're really going to dominate a lot of these games in here. There's a lot of very clear sight lines as well between the covers. So if you have a sniper rifle, this is going to be your own personal playground with this. Because the ground is so clear, close range AEG stuff does actually work well as well because you can sprint between the cover, but long sight lines mean snipers are going to have a good time with this one as well. So what about the actual games themselves then? Well, we started off the day with a very quick TDM, literally first team to 50 kills won, and it played out extremely quickly. It was quite literally 5 minutes long, that game. And they could have easily squeezed another one in while we were up there, but they cut us back to the safe zone anyway. And I think either make that one a little bit longer, like bump the kills up from 50 to 100, or have another quick game while you're up there. But as a warm-up game, it certainly served its purpose quite well. The next game we were playing was a sweep through the village. The attacking team had to go through it as quick as possible, eliminating all the defenders. Defenders were on constant medic, but there were only 2 people on those team that could deliver the medics, and once they were taken out, they were stuffed, they were on hit and dead. So whichever one cleared it the fastest was the winner, and there was a penalty for each player missed, at which point they declared it clear. So they had to make sure that everybody was gone before declaring it. Another game we played was up at the fort. Now, there was a bomb in the middle of it, and there was 2 buttons on it to declare which team had possession of it, but it's in a really open area in the middle of this fort, so making a mad dash for it is a huge risk if you didn't clear the entirety of the inside of the fort first. So if you don't like the close-up CQB stuff, you could play around the fort. There was enough cover to do that. However, you couldn't cross the midway point, so you couldn't push into the other team's area. Like they were trying to focus the battle very much on the middle of the fort. It played out very well, like some really intense CQB stuff, and because the bomb took a few seconds to arm, it's not like someone could just sprint for the middle, hammer it, and then they have possession. No, they had to hold that button for a few seconds, which left them very vulnerable. As I say, the game played well, but I think maybe a little twist on that, if you want to make it a little bit more complex, is have it so that the team that has possession of the bomb is then on hit and fall back and can't come into the game until the possession changes. So they're not out of the game entirely, they're just not allowed to respawn until the possession switches to the other team. So that would mean that the teams have to fight over the entire bit, secure it, then start the timer on it, because they'll start losing their numbers as they get picked off. And it might change the possession of the bomb a little bit more, because as it was, once we'd got the bomb at the start of the game, we just had it on lockdown, and since it took a few seconds to change the possession of it, it was really hard for the other team to switch possession. So if you want a game that will switch that up a little bit more, that might be an option. Another game we played was across a lot of the sites. We were playing across 3 or 4 different arenas with this one. The attackers had to get a briefcase into the fort. It was a 2-man carry, and defenders were on 3 lives and then fall back to the fort where they had to defend that, and that was their last life. So with each point they had to respawn further back in and they couldn't advance. So it was a constant progression game. The attacking team was always moving forward. So that did play out quite well. A little quirk about that I thought was weird though is the attackers started in the safe zone. Now you couldn't put your mags in until you'd left the safe zone obviously, but leaving the safe zone itself opened it into a real bottleneck. And I just find it weird that they made us start in the safe zone. Like, why not just line us up on the safe zone wall? Like, that might have been a better start point, but anyway, just a little thing with that. There was another game, but I was already packing my stuff up at that point because I had somewhere else to be, so I unfortunately didn't get to see that one. But the games on offer there were really quite interesting, and there were quite a few of them on offer, but I think I would have liked to see some more complex game modes. Because they did play out quite simply, and simplicity certainly worked for it in this case. Like, I'm not saying the games weren't fun to play through, they absolutely were, but maybe have one on the day with a bit more complex rule set, like just to shake it up a little bit, but that's a very minor niggle because I ultimately still had fun with these games and they played very well. So ultimately then, would I recommend a visit to the Skirmish Airsoft Mansfield site? If you've listened to pretty much anything in this video, you'd pick up that I actually had a really fun day there. So yes, absolutely. The site was very professionally run, it looked good, the site and the safe zone itself were very high quality, the facilities on offer were brilliant. So all round it is a very professional site. But with that in mind, I think they could make it a little bit more efficient in terms of how it's run. So just getting people into the safe zone quicker so they're not stood around outside for ages, cutting out the dead time in between the games, getting that first game going at a quicker time as well. So just little efficiency improvements in that as well. Also with that in mind, I think £30, not including the lunch and the fact that you're spending a lot of time in the downtime in the safe zone, it kind of reduces the value prospect of the site. So it's not expensive by any means, but like if you were to just add an extra game into the day and just make it run a bit more efficiency, it might feel like you're getting more for your money. But that's a very minor point, and it's a very easily fixed one as well. So yes, I have no qualms whatsoever about recommending this site to people. It is a very good site to go and visit. So I really hope you've enjoyed my video review of the Skirmish Airsoft Mansfield site. If you've got any questions you'd like to ask me or feedback you'd like to give, maybe you want to share your own experiences of that site, leave them down in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And until next time, this has been Dale of Lone Wombat Airsoft.